Good morning, everybody. For those of us who were in the sanctuary, we were quite happily cruising along through services. And for those of you who were hoping to watch online, you were wondering, why is it not working? That's because Rabbi Litwack didn't hit the stream button, which is all you need to do is just hit the button and it will go online. So, I say, since we just got started, let's do Matovu one more time, page 290, and thank you for your patience for all of you who are out there, not in the sanctuary. Matovu. Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to stand in life before you. Blessed are you, eternal one, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofei chol basar umafli la'asot. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi, atah varata, atah yatzarta, atah nefachta bi, atah meshamra bekirbi. The soul that you have given me, O God, is pure. You created and formed it, breathed it into me, and within me you sustain it. So long as I have breath, therefore, I will give thanks to you, my God and God of all ages, source of all being, loving guide of every human spirit. Baruch atah Adonai, asher be'yado nefesh kol chai, ve'ruach kol basar ish. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sechvi vina l'havchin ben yom uvein layla. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, zokev kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hanoten layayef koach. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hama'avir shenai menai, utnu mame afapai. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani b'tselem Elohim. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani ben chorin. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, sha'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael b'tifaraha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Adonai, our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us, and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of your Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to our people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur ve'elu hen. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur. Elu devarim she'en lahem shiur ve'elu hen. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are, together, honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, being gracious with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. Psalm 92, Tov lehodot Adonai, it is good to give thanks to God, page 302. L'shimcha elyon, ulezamer, l'shimcha elyon. Tov, tov, tov lehodot Adonai. Tov, tov, tov lehodot Adonai. Page 312. Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkara v'yitkara shemed haba ve'amad yivrach ruteh v'yamlich malchuteh lecha hayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael bahagala Uvisman kahadiv v'immeru amen. Yehi shmira b'mevorach le'olam olam me'olmaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yidbar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh Veit hadar, veit ale, veit halal, shemer kudesha, brichu le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damihiran be'alma, ve'immeru, amen. We rise for Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvarei choshech, oseh shalom uvarei takol, hameir la'aretz v'ladorim alecha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit, ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha, titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha, Ve'al me'orei or sha'asita yifarucha selah. Or chadash al Tzion Tayir v'nischechu lanu me'ra le'oroho Baruch atah Adonai yotzer ha'me'orot. Page 317. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear. In every land and to every age, your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways. And yet, O God, you are one unifier of humanity. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets, the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully, we remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would turn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael, be'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. May be seated. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kashartam le'ohot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chatavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tiskeruhu vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 321. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles and earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Yichamocha. Yichamocha b'elim Adonai, Yichamocha neda b'kodesh, norati Vatayam yachad kulam Odu v'him lichu ve'ameru Adonai himloch le'olam va'ed Yabba bim bidibay Yabba bim bam Yabba bim bidibay Yabba bim bam Ay 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 Yabba bim bam Ay 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 Zu Yisrael, Kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, Ufedechinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael, Go Aleinu Adonai Tzavaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. As we rise for Amidah, earlier today in Torah study, we talked about the need to pray, that we sometimes are not in the right frame of mind, and so it takes us a second to get rolling, to warm up, and this verse, which comes out of Psalms, Adonai Safatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise, is meant to be that warm-up, to just help us pray in order to pray. So we rise, page 323. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geulah Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaya Kol Atah Rav Lehoshia Morid Ha'atah Mechakel Chaim Bechesed Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim Zomech Noflim Verofech Hodim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Ahafah Chaye umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol Yekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem shmakdishim ohoto b'shmei madom Kakatuv al yad neviyecha V'karal zeh el zeh ve'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzevaot Melocho ha'aretz Kivoto Adir, Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Ma'adir Shimcha B'chol ha'aretz Baruch Kivod Adonai Mimkomo Echad Hu Eloheinu, Hu Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Moshienu vehu yashmienu berachamav le'enei kol chai. Ani Adonai Elohechem Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Hikzion Ledor vador Hallelujah Ledor vador nagid god lecha Ulenetzach nesachim kedushatcha hanakdish V'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush leolam vahed Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. You may be seated. Page 329. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat bekodei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat bekodei oneg Shabbat Mekadesh Shvi Shabbat Kulam Yisrael Ve'itanu Mitu Ve'echa Shabbat Yismechu B'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat Bekodei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu B'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat Bekodei Oneg Shabbat V'hashvi'i Ratzita bo v'kiddishto Shabbat Hemdat Yamim Oto Karata HaShabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat Bekodei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei 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 Shabbat Bekodei oneg Shabbat Zecher l'maaseh Bereshit. On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, shodcha levarcha b'yirah na'avod. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, we say, Modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, Modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, Modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and our future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, modim anachnu lach, for high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, modim anachnu lach, for all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, modim anachnu lach, for human liberties and sacred rights, for the opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Baruch atah Adonai, atov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Sim Shalom, page 334. Sim Shalom, tova uvracha, ben v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'hako Yisrael, ve'hako Yisrael amecha, barucheinu yotzreinu kulanu ke'echad, ve'or panecha, ki ve'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu. Sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'alko Yisrael, ve'alko Yisrael amecha, torat chaim ve'avat chesed u'tzedaka uvracha, ve'rachamim ve'chaim ve'shalom, ve'chaim ve'shalom. Sim shalom, sim shalom, tova uvracha, chen v'chesed v'rachamim v'rachamim aleinu, ve'alko Yisrael, ve'alko Yisrael amecha. We take a moment for silent personal prayer. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. We continue with Seder Kriyat HaTorah, service for reading Torah, page 362. En kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'en kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai himloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai os le'amo yitain, Adonai yivadech et amo v'shalom. Al harachamim heitiv avertzoncha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim, Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Ki vecha levad batachnu, Melech el Ram v'nisa Adon olamim. We rise. Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah, Udevar Adonai Yerushalayim. Baruch Shenatan Torah HaTorah, Baruch Shenatan Torah HaTorah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Gadolu Adonai iti, Unirom emav Shemo Yahweh. Kichol b'shamayim v'haaretz, kichol b'shamayim v'haaretz lecha Adonai hamamlacha, yaseh lechol lerosh. Maybe. There was a 7-year-old who was overheard speaking to God in a rather sharp tone as he offered his bedtime prayer. Please send me a new iPhone, the child pleads. You may remember that I have asked for this before. That impatient young man reflects an all too popular view of the role of prayer in our lives. We think about prayer as an opportunity to call upon God for favors, large and small. And in the age of instant responses, we don't take kindly to delays in filling our orders. Prayer, however, is properly understood not only as an occasion when we call upon God, but it's also a time when we pause to hear God calling out to us. Prayer at its highest goes beyond listing our demands. It also involves our listening to God's commands. It deals not only with our desires, it brings us face to face with our duties. It is powerfully significant that our most important prayer begins with the words Shema, listen or hear. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. This prayer and the passage that follows are not addressed to God, but to ourselves. They speak not of our desires, but of our duties, not of our requests, but of our responsibilities. We read from the Torah at services so that we might hear God speaking to us, in order that we might open our hearts to hear God calling to us. The heroes of our faith were not people capable of great rhetoric in addressing God. Rather, they were people of great responses when God addressed them. They were not noted for compelling God to do their bidding. They were distinguished by their ability to do what God asked of them. I know that we just started the book of Deuteronomy, but for a moment, let's turn back to the book of Leviticus. In Hebrew, Leviticus is Vayikra, and God called. God called Moses, and God spoke to him. When God called, Moses listened. God is not a snob. God doesn't restrict communications to only prophets and kings. I believe that God speaks to each of us, and one of our most desperate needs in a noisy world is to pause periodically and say in the words of the prophet Samuel, "Speak, O Lord, for your servant is listening." When we listen with the ears of the psalmist, when we look up to the heavens, we can hear God. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky proclaims your handiwork. When we listen with the ears of the poet Chaim Nachman Bialik, we can join him as he announces, "I will go out into the field and hear what God is saying in the ripe wheat." But it is in the synagogue that we are most likely to hear God reminding us that we are made in God's image and that we should therefore act in a manner that reflects our divine pedigree. We will hear God urging us to study and embrace the heritage that past generations have bequeathed to us, to enrich our lives and the lives of our children. We will hear God calling us to enhance the quality of our lives, deepen their meaning, and strive to be all that we are capable of becoming. We will hear God summoning us to relieve human suffering, to reach out to the lonely, to correct the injustice, to dry a tear, to soften a hurt, to speak a word of forgiveness and love. We live in a very noisy world. So many sounds clamor for our attention. Unless we retire periodically to the sanctuary where God speaks to us most insistently, we risk losing the Jewishness of our souls. There's a story of a hotel bellboy who in the early 20th century was instructed to awaken the famous British politician Lord Halifax at exactly 5 a.m. He was told to knock at the man's door and announce loudly, "My lord, this is the boy knocking." At the appointed time, the bellboy, excited at the prospect of awakening such an important guest, messed up his one line. As he knocked, he called out, "My boy, this is the Lord knocking." Those of us who believe that prayer is an effort to arouse the Lord should listen carefully. We might then hear the true calling, "My boy or girl, this is the Lord knocking." We are going to be reading from the middle of this week's Torah portion, a section that should sound quite familiar to you. We will be reading from Deuteronomy chapter 6, beginning with verse 4. You can follow in your Eitz Chaim Torah commentary. That's the red book in front of you on page 1024. Page 1024. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. And it is really nice. You can come local. It is really nice to be able to call on Eva Leibovic for our Aliyah this morning. It's her birthday today, so happy birthday. Many more years of strength and happiness. Ta'amur Chaviva Bat David Halevi V'Fega Mindel Aliyah La Torah.
It's also my mother's yahrzeit.
Oh, my goodness. There we go. All the more reason.
Yes. You ready? Okay. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ela asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha. V'shinan tam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech v'shochvecha u'v'kumecha. Ukashartam le'ot al yadecha ve'hayu letotafot beinenecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha ve'haya ki yiviacha Adonai Elohecha el ha'aretz asher nishba le'avotecha la'avraham le'tzak u'le'Yaakov latet lecha arim gedolot v'tovot asher lo Banita, Ve'batim meleim kol tov asher lo meleta, uvorot hatzuvim asher lo hatzavta, karmim ve'zeitim asher lo natata, ve'achalta ve'savata, hishamer lecha, pein tishkach et Adonai asher hotzeit Hotziacha me Eretz Mitzrayim mi Beit Avadim et Adonai Elohecha. Right? That we read Shema and Ve'ahavta, that we should hear God and that we should love God. And then when God brings us into the land that God promised to our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give us great cities, great and beautiful cities that we didn't build, and houses that are filled with goodness that we didn't fill, and water cisterns that we didn't take care of, and great vineyards and olive orchards that we didn't plant, didn't tend, and we eat of all those things and we are satisfied with them. Be aware, you should be aware lest you forget the God that brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. We are reminded, this is Moses at the very end is getting in the last words so that we don't forget when Moses is gone and the people are on their own.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mazel tov. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Presence of our open Torah, we think about our friends and neighbors, members of our community, members of our own family who are in need of a blessing of healing of the body, healing of the spirit. On this Shabbat, we are especially thinking about Judy Agron, Adam Beaumont, Osvaldo Barraza, Mindy Bloom, Shelley Blum-Claire, Elliot Citron, Barbara Davis, Kathy Duchess, Susan Friedman, Rita Gold, Ed Johns, Mindy Elizabeth Jones, Susan Jones, Dixie Lampert, Jack Lieb, Levi Yitzhak Yaakov, Ben Tamara Aviva, Ken Levin, Maya Bat Devora, Malka Bat Masha, Elka Rock, Shammai Ben Michael, Shaul Ben Moshe Verivka, Joyce Ridenour, Barry Sugar, Shoshana Devora Bat Chava, Candy Sharp, Mark Byron Singer, Rose Singer, Stuart Singer, Aryeh Tzvi Ben Sarah, Barry Wasserman, Kevin Webb, Ted Weinrock, Yonatan Ben Feifel. Go ahead. John Thomas. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak VeYaakov Ve'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah Hu Yavarech Ve'yirah Pei Et Cholim Kodesh Baruch Hu Yamalei Rachamim Aleihem L'Hach Limam L'Rapotam L'Hach Zikam L'Hachiotam V'Yishlach B'mheira Refuah Shlema Refuat HaNefesh U'Refuat HaGuf B'Toch Shar Chol Yisrael Hashta Ba'Galav V'Zman Kariv V'Nomar. We say Amen. We are going to invite Maureen Boyarsky for the honor of Hagba, of holding our Torah. And as the Torah is lifted, we invite the congregation to please rise. I should know that. I'm going to say 368, something like that. 367. I don't know. I could look. once again. I forgot, you may be seated. Sorry to leave you in the dark, those of you who are online. I forgot to widen the picture. Okay. This is the first Shabbat after Tisha B'Av, and so therefore it is what is called Shabbat Nakamu, the Shabbat of comfort, that we've just come out of this painful day that started last Saturday night and went to Sunday, and now we need some comfort. God needs to give us a little bit of help. And so the Haftarah comes from the book of Isaiah. It comes from chapter 40 of Isaiah. If you want to follow along, you can find it on page 1033. I should probably get there myself. 1033. And you will see why it is called Shabbat Nakamu, right there in literally the first in the first two words. Not just the first word, but the first word and the second word, the same word, Nakamu. Nakamu, a call to comfort the people of Israel, says God. Okay? And that we should speak gently and tenderly to Jerusalem, because it has been under siege, and so not only the city is being personified as a person and as a woman who has been enslaved and put into prison, and now that time or servitude, and now that time is over. So again, if you would like to follow along, it's on page 1033. We'll read the first part of it and then the very end of it. And let's just get us. There we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'neviim tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hanemarim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdoho u'v'Yisrael amoho u'v'nevi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Comfort, O comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and declare to her that her term of service is over, that her iniquity is expiated. For she has received at the hand of the Lord double for all her sins. A voice rings out, clear in the desert, a road for the Lord. Level in the wilderness, a highway for our God. Let every valley be raised, every hill and mount made low. Let the rugged ground become level, and the ridges become a plain. The presence of the Lord shall appear, and all flesh as one shall behold. For the Lord himself has spoken. A voice rings out, proclaim. Another asks, what shall I proclaim? All flesh is grass, all its goodness like flowers of the field. Grass withers, flowers fade, when the breath of the Lord blows on them. Indeed, man is but grass. Grass withers, flowers fade, but the word of our God is always fulfilled. You go to the bottom of the next page, verse 21. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Have you not been told from the very first? Have you not discerned how the earth was founded? It is God who is enthroned above the vault of the earth, so that its inhabitants seem like grasshoppers, who spread out the skies like gauze, stretch them out like a tent to dwell in. God brings potentates to naught, makes rulers of the earth as nothing. Hardly are they planted, hardly are they sown, hardly has their stem taken root in earth, when God blows upon them and they dry up, and the storm bears them off like straw. To whom then can you liken me? To whom can I be compared, says the Holy One? Lift high your eyes and see who created these. God, who sends out their host by count, who calls them each by name, because of God's great might and vast power, not one fails to appear. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik b'chol hadorot, ha'el haneman, ha'omer ve'oseh, ha'medaber u'mekayem, shekol devrahav emet v'tzedek, al haTorah ve'al avodah ve'al hanavim ve'al yom haShabbat hazeh shenatata lahanu Adonai Eloheinu likadusha ve'limenucha lechavod u'letifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach u'mevarchim otach yitbarach shimcha befi kochai tamid leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Turning back to our prayer book, page 374, we rise as the Torah is returned to the ark. turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us, those who have gifted us with memory. We are thinking about Robert E. Wolfe, Sheila Lieberman, and Sue Clow, all who have died over the past 30 days, for whom we are observing Shloshim. And these, the yortzites of our congregant loved ones, whom we commemorated their yortzites this week. Elizabeth Bloom, Sylvia Borg, Catherine Kosicher, Jerome Fields, Solomon Fresco, Saul Gelb, Howard Glassman, Leon M. Goldhaber, Lena Klein, Alvina Leibovic, Ruth Lowe, Marjorie Moss, Gary A. Poliakoff, Vivian R. Rubin, Harry Sidney Rutstein, Joseph Israel Rutstein, Hyman Schenker, Paul Schur, Helen Silver, and all those who are listed below who are remembered on our permanent memorial plaques here in the sanctuary. We join together for Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. We invite the congregation to please rise. Page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach rute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam olomei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudishah v'richu. Leila min kober chata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da milan be'alma v'imru. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom b'mromav, uya aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved. As together we say, Amen. You may be seated. Just want to wish all of you a Shabbat Shalom. Again, apologize for the technical difficulty right at the beginning of services. Thank you for your patience. I want to first start by saying thank you to Juvenal, who over the last 2 weeks, as Cantor has been, 2 Shabbatot, that the Cantor has been gone, has made me sound reasonably well, as best as he could. All the rest is on me. Thank you, Juvenal. Thank you to all of our service sponsors this Shabbat, to Esther and Mordechai Fintz in honor of their anniversary tomorrow, 58th anniversary, to Eva and to Greg, who sponsored not only in honor of Eva's birthday, and I'm so glad, Eva, you were here. It's nice to be able to celebrate in person and to honor and remember your mother. To Barry and Marcia Sugar in honor of their 56th anniversary, Laura and Bruce Schur in honor of their anniversary, which is today. Happy anniversary, Laura and Bruce. To Cantor and Joanne Schulkes in honor of Esther and Mordechai Fintz's anniversary, the Fintz and the Fresco families in memory of Solomon Fresco, Marty and Lynn Mendelson in honor of their anniversary, which is tomorrow, and Keith and Candy Poliakoff in memory of Keith's dad, Gary. Thank you all. Just a couple of announcements. Summer is coming to an end. We are back in full swing at the synagogue, and what better way than to celebrate that than coming together for just a nice social evening, cocktail party to welcome back our 2022-2023 programming year. September 1st at 6:30. Come join us for some light fare, some drinks, and treats. It'll be a nice chance for people to see each other if you've been away, either away in your home or away on vacation. That is 6:30. Again, a reminder for this coming Tuesday at noon online, we get to hear from our own Elise Udelson, a past board member, a past vice president of Temple Sinai. She, as Women's Philanthropy Chair for the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, had the opportunity to go to Poland and see the work that Federation and the Jewish community is doing with refugees from Ukraine in Poland. And she's going to be speaking, and two others will be sharing their insight as to what's happening really on the ground. Reminder that you can still send a little bit of sweetness to anyone that you want before the High Holy Days. Our honey fundraiser is still going on. You missed the deadline for free shipping, but not to worry, you can still do it. So we hope that you will. A fundraiser for our own sisterhood circle and for the congregation. We are going to conclude with the singing of Ein Keloheinu, page 626. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadoneinu, Ein Kemokeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Eloheinu, Adonenu, Mechemalkeinu, Mechemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Emalkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu. We rise for Kiddush and Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.